Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, let us say thank to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala who has given us mercies and blessings so we can continue our presentation today in a good condition. Salawat and salam always we give to our best Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam who has brought us from the darkness to the lightness. Okay, before we start our presentation today, let us introduce ourselves first. My name is Adelia Endang Widastuti. We are from Group 3, and my members are Ade Bunga Izati, Yesi Apriani, Aditya, and Putri Haldar. Today we are going to discuss about the students' responsibility for management, and I will handle the first material. So, what is students' responsibility? Students' responsibility is an obligation for students to contribute in creating good function of classroom management. In classroom management, there is relationship between teacher and student. The teacher guides the student so the student realize their responsibility. And if the students and teacher give their contribution, so the good function of the classroom will be created. Okay, the next is, in students' responsibility, there are some terms that related to students' responsibility. It is come from their own behavior. The first is self-discipline. It can come from their self-motivation so that the student who have good self-discipline, they can know when they must do and finish their tasks. And then the second is self-management. The third is self-regulation, and the fourth is self-control, and the last is social skill. For social skill, it is focused on how students control their behavior, and then also some research shows that this ability is related to students' attitudes and academic achievement. So if the students have good behavior, they can have good responsibility and give their contribution to create good classroom management. Okay, the next is about the research and theory. The result of students' responsibility is reported in figure number 6.1. It is about the effect size for students' responsibility. From the table, we know that the average effect size for teaching student responsibility strategies in general is 694 with percentile decrease 25 percentile point in disruptive behavior. And for self-monitoring and control strategies, it gives 597 average effect size and 23 percentile decrease in disruption. And for cognitively based strategies, it gives 778 average effect size and 28 percentile point. And for high school, it gives 981 average effect and 34 percentile point. And for middle school or junior high school, it gives 826 average effect size and 30 percentile decrease in disruption. For upper elementary, it gives 540 average effect size and 21 percentile decrease in disruption behavior. And the last, for primary, it gives 706.4 average effect size and 26 percentile decrease in disruption. So, there are two basic categories of responsibility strategies. The first is self-monitoring and control strategies, and then cognitively based strategy. Self-monitoring and control strategy is the condition when the student observes their own behavior. It can also help the students in their ability and get their own success. For cognitively based strategy, it is considered alternative action and selecting effective cause. Okay, that's all about my material. Next, Yesi Apriani will continue the next material.
Okay, I will continue adult explanation about students' responsibility, and the next material is programs. As we know, programs is a set of related measures or activities with a particular long-term aim, and also a number of programs address various aspects of student responsibility. The mean of programs, according to experts, first, Batistich, Watson, Solomon, Scaps, and Solomon, 1991, is one of the most promising for the development of self-regulatory skills, and the second, by Baer, 1998, the Child Development Project is grounded in cognitive developmental controversies approach and focus on the long-term developmental of prosocial behavior, while the emphasizing extrinsic control of rewards and punishment. And the next slide is the component of the program includes stories accompanied by discussion, role-playing activities, and lesson cards. First, we talk about discussion. Discussion is the action or process of talking about something in order to reach decision or to exchange ideas. Also, can you mean is a conversation or debate about a certain topic. For example, in college, we always doing discussion for get many informations from teacher or from other friends. And discussion also teach how to respect someone's opinion. Also, if we always doing discussion, we can think critically about something. Discussion can doing in classroom or office. Purpose of discussion are help students understand what they are learn and discuss. So, if students don't understand about the material, they can ask to teacher or other friends. Provide students opportunities to learn from each other. And use of discussion are in the acquisition of communication skills, also an avenue for attitude change. Characteristics of discussion are experiential learning, emphasize on student and focus on critical thinking. And type of discussion are task-oriented or group-oriented and long-term or short-term. And the second is role-playing. Role-playing is discussion technique that makes possible to get maximum participation of a group through acting out on an example of some problem or idea under discussing. Purpose of role-playing are to present interpersonal problems, to provide emotional and effective stimulus for solving problems, and to prepare for meeting future situations, to convey information, to develop specific skills. And role-playing evaluates the teacher and participant through discussion or follow-up as to specific individual behavior or sequence of group action. And the last is lesson card. Yes, lesson card. Lesson card is card for student from teacher. For example, the teacher has a card and this card is used as benchmark in assessing whether students have understood the material that has been given or not. In addition, it can also be used as teacher assessment of students. Okay, I think that's all. The next presentation will be explained by Ade Bunga Izati.
Okay, I'm Ade Bunga Izati. I'm going to continue essay explanation. There are 3 steps to create a good class management. Action step 1, action step 2, and action step 3. Now, I'm going to explain about action step 1. Action step 1 is employ general classroom procedures that enhance students' responsibility. There are 4 in the action step 1. The first is the classroom meeting. The classroom meeting is a powerful tool for teaching student responsibility. According to Barbara McEwan, Paul Gather Cole, and Virginia Nemo 1997, have articulated the following guidelines for effective class meeting. First is determine who call a class meeting. Sit students and teachers so that they can see the faces of all other class members. Establish the ground rule that the meeting will stay on topic. Establish the ground rule that students have the right not to participate in class meetings. And the last is encourage or require students to use journals in conjunction with class meeting. To apply these rules, it will make students' responsibility increase. And then next, a language responsibility. The language we use is a window to our thoughts. Furthermore, linguists tell us that we develop a specific vocabulary for those things that are important to us. So, for helping students develop responsibility in learning for their own behavior, if they have no language to talk about responsibility, they have a few tools with which to explore the concept. Consequently, teachers using judicious discipline begin by introducing students to the basic concept of rights, freedoms, and equality. This is followed by the explanation and discussions. And then next, written statements of belief. When we take time to articulate our beliefs, we are forced to be precise about those beliefs. According Cecilia Netolicky 1998, describes an approach to developing student responsibility that relies heavily on the development of a document referred to as the ethos document. This is because the term ethos means the underlying beliefs and sentiments that inform the customs or practices in group or a society. Certainly, a classroom represents a small society of sorts. The ethos document contains assertions about the beliefs underlying the expected behaviors in the classroom. Documents like the ethos document should be developed with thought and maximum input from students. This might be one of the first whole class activities students engage in the beginning of the school year. The following vignette depicts how it might occur in the classroom. And the last, the action step 1 is written self-analysis. Along with the ethos document, Netolicky 1998 recommends the students use a prescript form to record their analysis of behavioral incidents. She refers to this as self-defense form. It includes the following elements: date of incident, and the location of the incident, others involved in the incident, students' response to question like following how I feel I contribute to the conflict, and so on. The basic purpose of the self-defense form is for students to articulate the perspective on a disciplinary incident in the context of framework that requires them to examine their responsibility in the matter. Specifically, the question that address how students contributed to the incident, how they can stop the incident from occurring again, and the agreements they are willing to make as a result of the incident are powerful stimuli to developing student responsibility. The following vignette depicts how this might be apparent in the classroom. Okay, that's all about action step 1. The next material is about action step 2, and the next material will explain by Putri Haldar.
Okay, I will continue the next material, action step 2. Action step 2 provide students with self-monitoring and control strategies. Self-monitoring and control strategies require students to observe their own behavior, record it in some way, compare it with some predetermined criterion, and then acknowledge and reward their own success if the criterion is reached. Identifying students with whom you will use a self-monitoring and control strategies is usually straightforward. Before the first meeting in your class, you might spend some time recording the specific of the student's behavioral problem, perhaps over a week or two. So, these items you might record include the following: the date and time actions of the incident, the context in which the incident occurred, the specific action of the student, what you did, the student's response to your actions, the impact of the incident on the class, on you, and on the student. Next, 4 generic phases of self-monitoring and control strategies. The first phase is record keeping and contingent reward. This phase, students keep formal records that have been set by teacher. You and students meet every week to discuss students' behavior. If you agree that a student's behavior is acceptable, then there is a formal reward is given to the student as contingent reward. The second phase, monitoring without formal record keeping. So the second phase, the formal record-keeping form, is dropped and replaced by a less obtrusive method of record-keeping. At first, this might be written. Over time, the written summary could be replaced by a verbal summary. The third phase, no formal record-keeping, no reward. The third phase, the opposite of the first phase. The student still keeps records in an informal manner, and you and the student still meet weekly to discuss the student's behavior. However, if you both agree that the student's behavior has been acceptable, no formal reward is given. The last phase, student autonomy. In this phase, the student has reached a level of autonomy. Student does not have to meet you to report on his behavior and receive recognition of reward. However, you may still have exceptional discussions with the students about his behavior. This phase depicts how the self-monitoring and control process might occur in the classroom. So, that's all about action step 2, and next action step 3 will be handled by Aditya.
Okay, now I will continue the presentation. I will explain about action step 3. These techniques are particularly useful for students who lack of social skill, create discord in classroom. For example, a student who has difficulty interacting with other students might cause a disruption in the classroom, not because he wishes to feel the classroom rules or procedure, but because he acts out his frustration due to poor interaction with other students. Step 1. Notice when you are becoming angry, annoyed, frustrated, overwhelmed, and stop whatever you are doing. Most often, our emotional signal a pending problem before we are aware of it. Consequently, having students recognize the rising emotion is the first and probably most powerful step in cognitively based strategies. Step 2. Ask yourself, what are the different ways I can respond to this situation? The second step has the potential to transform the student action from simple reaction to consequence decision. Simply considering a number of possible responses to a given situation, whether it is a social situation, the student is having a disagreement or another student and becomes angry, or a more general problem, the student can get the teacher attention and become frustrated. Shift the realm of possibilities available to student. Step 3. Think about the consequence for each of your opinion. The act of considering consequence places the student's action at a relatively high level of rational thought. And the last one is step 4. Select the action that has the potential for the most positive consequence for you and the other. With alternative considering, students are in a better position to select an appropriate course of action that has positive consequence for them and for other students. And the fourth step described above have a broad range of applications. For younger students, the process might be presented in the following way. First, when you feel like you might do something that is harmful, stop and think. Second, what are some other things you can do? Third, what will happen if you do them? And the last one is pick the best one. Okay, I think that's all for my explanation, and that's all for our presentation today. We are sorry for our mistake. Last say wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.